GMNA uses artificial intelligence for generated speech, visuals, and production. AI-generated content may contain errors. Please verify important information before making decisions or taking action.
Good night, Montreal.
Volunteers are out across the city today handing out cool-down kits to residents most vulnerable to the sweltering heat. The kits, packed with chilled water, damp towels, and a small fan, are being delivered in neighborhoods identified as urban heat islands, where temperatures rise several degrees above the surrounding areas. Organizers say the effort aims to protect seniors, people with chronic illnesses, and anyone living without reliable air conditioning. The distribution began early this morning and will continue throughout the afternoon, with teams stationed near community centers in the Plateau, Verdun, and Auchan-Maisonneuve. City officials have warned that the current heat wave is intensifying the island effect, leaving at-risk populations exposed. Volunteers hope the freshness kits will provide immediate relief while longer-term cooling strategies are explored. Neighborhood volunteers also distribute flyers with tips on staying hydrated and safe during the heat.
Canadian swimming star Summer McIntosh withdrew from the national trials in Montreal today after being diagnosed with a viral illness. The 21-year-old, a cornerstone of Canada's elite squad and a medal favorite for upcoming international meets, was slated to race in multiple events at the downtown pool. Team doctors confirmed the virus made her unable to compete safely, prompting the swift decision to pull her from the program. Officials from Swimming Canada said the withdrawal will not affect her long-term preparation for the Paris Olympics, but emphasized the importance of full recovery before returning to the water. The trials continue without her, with other top swimmers still vying for spots on the Olympic roster. Her absence reshapes the race lineup, giving rising athletes a clearer path to the Olympic team. Fans expressed disappointment on social media, hoping the champion regains health quickly.
At roughly 12:20 p.m. today, Réseau Express Métropolitain officials announced an immediate suspension of train service between Panama and Brossard stations after an electrical power fault was detected on the line. The outage, which began just after the midday rush, has left commuters in the South Shore suburb without rapid transit access, and crews are currently working to isolate and repair the problem. REM spokesperson said the issue appears confined to the segment between the two stations, but warned that service restoration could take several hours pending safety checks. The network, which links the island to the South Shore and the airport, normally runs at high frequency, so the interruption is expected to cause significant delays for riders heading toward downtown or the airport. Authorities have asked passengers to seek alternative bus routes until trains resume.
Montreal, Quebec. Christian Germain has stepped down as chair of the board of Santé Quebec, the provincial agency that oversees the province's health care system. The resignation was announced in July 2026. Germain said she is leaving the position effective immediately. Santé Quebec is tasked with setting policy, allocating funding, and monitoring performance of hospitals and health care networks across Quebec. The board, which meets monthly, will continue its work under an interim chair while a search for a permanent successor proceeds. Board members will maintain their duties, and the schedule of meetings will continue unchanged until a new chair is appointed. The agency confirmed that its operations and ongoing health care initiatives will proceed without interruption. No further details on the reasons for the departure have been released.
Technical problems have knocked the province's official exam results portal offline, leaving thousands of high school students and their families unable to view scores. The Ministry of Education confirmed the system went down early this morning, and engineers are still working to restore access. Officials say a sudden surge in traffic triggered the failure, but the exact cause remains under investigation. Parents across the province have reported error messages and long wait times as they attempt to log in. The government has pledged to keep the site open for an extended period once it is back online, and to provide alternative ways to obtain results. Meanwhile, school boards are advising students not to panic and to await further updates from the ministry. The outage has also raised concerns among educators about potential delays in college applications and scholarship decisions.
Later, we break down the Conservative MP's departure and his upcoming Senate seat, and what it means for Quebec politics. We will be right back.
Watch the local sunset tonight at 6 p.m. for all your local Montreal news.
Welcome back, everyone. That was a quick break. Let's jump right into the headlines, then I'll turn it over to Rachel for our local stories.
Quebec Conservative MP Mark Carney will leave the Conservative caucus today and is slated to receive a Senate appointment from Prime Minister Mark Carney. The move marks the Prime Minister's first Senate selections, which also feature a senior advisor, and signals an effort to reintroduce partisan representation into an upper chamber that has operated largely without party lines for the past 10 years. By bringing a former Conservative MP into the Senate, the government aims to restore a clearer party presence, a shift from the recent tradition of nonpartisan appointments. Observers note that the change could affect how legislation is debated, given that senators will now carry explicit party affiliations again. The appointment is expected to be formalized later this week, completing the Prime Minister's initial push to reshape the Senate's composition.
Today, the Quebec government announced an expansion of its province-wide ban on open fires, adding new restrictions to a number of forested zones. The move aims to cut the risk of wildfires after a season of dry conditions that have already prompted limited fire bans in parts of the province. Under the new rules, residents and visitors will be barred from lighting campfires, charcoal grills, or any open flame devices in the newly designated areas, and access to several forest tracts will be limited to authorized personnel only. Officials say the broader measures complement existing controls and give fire prevention crews a better chance to contain any sparks before they spread. For families who enjoy weekend picnics or backyard barbecues, the announcement means checking local signage and adjusting plans to stay within permitted zones, helping keep the province's woodlands safe.
Police confirmed that 4 teenagers were taken into custody after a vehicle was driven into a jewelry store on the corner of Fleury Street and Curat Avenue. Officers responded to several crash reports in the early hours of Monday, around 2 a.m., and discovered the car had rammed the storefront in what appears to be an attempted robbery. All 4 suspects were arrested at the scene and are being held for questioning. No injuries were reported, but the incident caused significant property damage to the boutique and disrupted traffic in the neighborhood. Investigators said the vehicle was used as a tool to force entry, suggesting a coordinated effort among the youths. The case will now move through the judicial process, with authorities reviewing surveillance footage and statements to determine further charges.
The courtroom in Longueuil saw a decisive verdict yesterday, as a man was found guilty of attempted murder and illegal weapon possession. The defendant, who attacked a court interpreter with a knife in January 2024, faced a trial that concluded in July 2026. The jury's verdict affirms the seriousness of the assault that shocked staff and visitors at the South Shore Courthouse. Court officials noted the conviction sends a clear message that violent threats inside judicial facilities will not be tolerated. Victims and their families have expressed relief that the case has finally been resolved, while security measures are being reviewed to protect employees and the public who come to the courthouse for routine matters. Local businesses near the courthouse reported a brief slowdown in foot traffic during the trial, but normal activity has resumed.
Yesterday at the Canadian swimming trials in Montreal, 19-year-old Summer McIntosh secured the women's 400-meter individual medley title with a time of 4 minutes 27.35 seconds. While the victory guarantees her spot on the national team for the upcoming international season, the performance fell short of her own world record of 4 minutes 23.65 seconds, missing by almost 4 seconds. McIntosh set that record at the 2025 national trials in Victoria. The trials serve as the final selection meet for Canadian swimmers heading to World Championships and other major events. Officials noted that despite the gap, McIntosh's consistency across all 4 strokes remains a key asset for Canada's medal hopes. The event drew a lively crowd at the Olympic pool, with many cheering as she touched the wall. Coaches praised her endurance and strategic pacing throughout the race.
Now let's get a look at tonight's forecast with our weather team.
A northwest jet stream and rising pressure are locking in clear, stable conditions across the greater Montreal area. On this date, Montreal once baked to a record high of 33.2 degrees Celsius in 2020, a spike that rode the tail of an unprecedented heat wave across southern Quebec. The cold counterpart fell to 13.2 degrees Celsius in 2018, when an Arctic blast slipped southward behind a deepening trough. By contrast, Today's climatological normals sit around 27 degrees for the high and 19 degrees for the low, underscoring how today's temperatures sit comfortably between the historic extremes. The live radar screen is completely blank across the province. No rain echoes are returning from the St. Lawrence corridor, and the satellite loop shows only high-level cirrus drifting west. With near-average pressure nudging upward and a brisk northwest jet stream aloft, the air mass remains dry and stable. That means any lingering showers have already evaporated, and no new development is expected before the system drifts eastward after midnight. At 11 p.m., the city sits under a clear sky with a temperature of 24 degrees, humidity at 43%, and a south wind of 9 kilometers per hour. Dew point rests at 11 degrees, and pressure is near average but rising, sealing in a dry, stable air mass. Over the next few hours, the northwest jet stream, moving at 67 kilometers per hour aloft at 500 hpa, about 5,800 meters, will continue to shepherd mild air eastward, keeping clouds at bay. Overnight lows will dip to 19 degrees before sunrise, when the sun climbs and pushes highs toward 32 degrees. The UV index will register 7, and the strongest gusts will reach 15 kilometers per hour from the southeast. No weather alerts are active, allowing a calm night to transition into a warm, breezy tomorrow. Wednesday will remain dry with a high near 30 degrees and a low of 19 degrees, the jet stream still perched to the north, steering clear of any moisture. Thursday introduces a shift as the upper-level trough slides east, bringing overcast skies and a 45% chance of rain. Temperatures will ease to 24 degrees high and 20 degrees low, and breezy southeast flow may reach 27 kilometers per hour. Friday rebounds to mainly clear conditions, high 27 degrees, low 17, as high pressure builds again. Saturday stays sunny with a high of 26 and a low of 17, while Sunday closes the week with overcast layers, a high of 28 and a low of 18, setting the stage for next week's pattern. And that's your weather. Remember, the wrap is also available as a podcast. Listen anytime on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.
Coming up, traffic updates, a look at today's cultural calendar, and a preview of the Rose's latest victory. We will be right back.
Watch the local sunset tonight at 6 p.m. for all your local Montreal news.
And now here's Jason with sports.
Montreal soccer fans, your roses are absolutely blooming right now. The Montreal Roses put on a show in Northern Super League action last Saturday, dismantling Vancouver Rise 5-1. The story was Evelyn Badu, who netted 3 times on the afternoon, a hat-trick performance that drove the Roses to one of their most convincing wins of the season, according to CBC Sports Soccer. A familiar face is leaving Montreal. The Canadiens have sent veteran forward Brendan Gallagher to the Vancouver Canucks in exchange for future considerations. CBC Sports NHL reported the deal, closing the chapter on Gallagher's time in a Habs uniform. Before his trade to Vancouver was announced, Brendan Gallagher received a remarkable honor. The city of Montreal named him an honorary citizen with a ceremony held at City Hall. A fitting tribute to a player who gave everything to this city, according to CBC Sports.
At the Bell Center, the roar of 1,000 uniformed officers swelled like a chorus, each badge catching the soft amber of the arena lights. The ceremony was called to honor Officer Amir Benridwan, whose life was taken in a shooting on June 22nd. Families, fellow officers, and community leaders filled the rows, their faces a mix of grief and resolve. A single red rose was placed on a wooden podium, its petals trembling as a quiet violin began to play the city's anthem, the notes echoing through the vaulted ceiling. When the commandant stepped forward, he read a letter written by Benridwan's own mother, her words painting a picture of a son who loved the streets he protected and the children who rode the metro each morning. The crowd fell silent, then rose together, hands clasped, chanting his name until the echo faded into a gentle applause. In that moment, the weight of loss transformed into a shared promise to carry his courage forward, every shift, every corner of the city. We remember his dedication and hold it close as we move forward together.
On a crisp early summer evening on St. Laurent Boulevard, the streets of the Plateau pulse with the first notes of the Nuits d'Afrique 40-year celebration. Musicians from Senegal, Ethiopia, and the Caribbean line the cobblestones, their instruments gleaming under the lanterns that now double as stage lights. Volunteers from the community center hand out flyers, while a troop of schoolchildren in bright dashikis practice a call and response chant that drifts toward the cafes where patrons sip café au lait. The festival promises more than 120 concerts over the next week, the majority offered free of charge, turning the city into a living, breathing concert hall. One moment that captures the spirit comes at the corner of Rue Saint-Denis, where an elderly griot shares a centuries-old proverb with a group of curious teenagers, their faces illuminated by the glow of a single drum. The spontaneous applause that follows feels less like a reaction to a performance and more like a collective affirmation of belonging. In moments like these, Montreal reminds us that music can turn ordinary streets into shared spaces of joy.
Thank you, Montreal, for joining us on The Wrap. Today's story about volunteers delivering cool-down kits to our heat-vulnerable neighbors reminded us of the community spirit that defines this city. Stay safe, stay engaged, and we'll be back tomorrow with more of the news that matters to you.